Welcome everyone. It is 3 o'clock and here we are for a webinar that I snuck in at the last minute. I think we're ending webinars for NICE TESOL until August. I think this is one of the very last ones. So I'd like to welcome you all, and I'm going to be admitting people, but if someone would volunteer to be co-host, that would make it a lot easier for me to admit people, because people are going to be coming in the next minute or so. At any rate, I would like to welcome you all. I assume that you have an interest similar to mine in this very vulnerable population that we all serve in TESOL, that New York, in its greater wisdom, chooses to call SIFE, students with interrupted or inconsistent formal education, but that in all of the work that I do and the work that I do with Andrea DiCapo, we call it SLIFE, students with limited or interrupted formal education. So you may have heard both acronyms, and nationally it's more known as SLIFE, but New York says SIFE. So either one is fine. We know who we're talking about. All right. So I'm going to keep hitting admit every other minute, looking up to see who's waiting to get in. Let me put the participants down here so that I can keep admitting people. And I'll put my chat up there. I'm just rearranging some of my stuff so that I can keep admitting all these little latecomer types. Okay, here we go. So now I'm going to share my screen, and you won't see as much of me. You'll see more the PowerPoint and other things I'm going to show you. All right. So you don't really need your webcams. So if you could please turn off your webcams for now at least, that would be great. I would appreciate it. Okay, so here we are, and I'm going to start. This is supporting SLIFE in the summer months, and that starts any minute. So I'm going to start by telling you all that this is a NICE TESOL sponsored webinar, and we all would like you to join NICE TESOL. It would be wonderful if you do, if you're not already a member. And I would suggest that you do that because some of you might need CTLE hours. And if you do, only members can have CTLE hours. So from this webinar. So if you would like any kind of credit for coming to this session, CTLE, then you can get that simply by being a member and having attended the session. All right, so welcome to all the folks who've just joined us. You missed very little, the title slide and the ad, okay? So I'm just going to put in the chat, I'm going to put links to the two places that are on the slide. I'm going to put the links in so you have them, which is the Join TESOL, NICE TESOL link, and the resource page. And the resource page is a very wonderful page where you may have even found this webinar on that page or other webinars. Okay, so I'm going to keep going even though people are coming in as I speak. I'm going to ask one last time for a co-host. If anyone would be willing, could you raise your hand? And then I'll make you a co-host, and then you can continue admitting people so I can focus on presenting. You can also monitor the chat for any issues or problems that come up. All you have to do is raise your hand, which is one of the things that you can click on the participants pod. You can just raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself, and I can make you my co-host. You know, be brave, be courageous and brave. Think of what your students have to do, and all you have to do is be a co-host. Your students have to learn English and do well in school. Raise your hand. Somebody. Ah, Grace. You're amazing. Thank you, Grace. All right, I'm going to make you a co-host. All right, our co-host is now going to be Grace. And Grace, I thank you very, very much. I really appreciate this. So if you're co-host, you can now continue with admitting people. Also, please monitor the chat for me so that if I miss something important, we can move on. So I'm going to start by giving you a poll. the first poll I'm going to launch, which is, did you do the pre-work? It's a simple question. It's either yes or no. Did you do the pre-work? Yes or no? Grace, do you see the admit button? Just click admit and they will come in. Thank you so much. Okay, so do you see the admit button? Okay. So it looks like some people have done the pre-work and some have not. You're not used to pre-work, are you? Well, anyone who's done any training with me knows that I don't do a sit and get. I like people to think before they come in. So I actually asked you several questions before you came in, and I'm going to use the answers to those questions as part of this webinar. Now, if you didn't answer them, it's okay. We have enough people who did, and we'll look at the answers as we go along. So I'm going to, let's see, 16 out of 20 have voted. Just answer yes or no. No one knows who you are. It's anonymous. But it's always the first question I ask in any flip to a learning professional development, which is the kind of professional development I do. Okay. So did you do the pre-work? And we're going to end the poll with 17 responses. And you can see, I'm going to share the results, that 65% yes and 35% no. That's actually typical of any survey or questionnaire research. If you get you know, that hefty a percentage, that's pretty good. So, but that's just of the people that are here, not the people that registered. Okay. All right. In any case, you don't need to go back and do it now. We'll be sharing some of the results. But if you're interested in seeing what the pre-work is, I am going to put the pre-work link in the chat. So anybody who wants to can go and take a look at it. And you can take a look at it, and if you want to answer it, you can answer it. Oh, it didn't say pre-work. It's that last link, pre-work. Okay, I'm going to put it in again. Pre-work, okay? So you can go take a look at it if you want. You can multitask. All right, so everybody, would you please put in the chat what city do you live in? Where are you all from? So you don't have to put your name, just put your city. And you don't have to put your state unless you're not from New York. So everybody put in your city so you can all see where everybody's from. And that, by the way, was one of the pre-work questions. I wanted to know where you were all coming from. I know we're from all the corners of the state. I saw some Buffalo, I saw some Binghamton, I saw way out on Long Island. I saw all kinds of places. I don't know if anyone's from where I'm from. I'm from White Plains. I'm in Lower Hudson. I'm in Westchester. Okay. So you all know that there's a BOCES near you, and BOCES is always going to be helpful to you. So I'm just mentioning that because I used to work at a BOCES and a BTAC, we called it. Now it's Auburn. Remember, all their resources are free. You should definitely get in touch with your local Auburn. They have a lot of resources. Okay. Please, everybody put where you're located. And you can, oh my God, is someone from Calgary? Hi. Okay, Highland Falls, that's not too far from me. Okay, let's go on. So there is this expression. I don't know if you've heard the expression summer slide. If you've heard the expression summer slide, put a green check in the participants pod. Go to the participants pod and put a green check if you've heard the term summer slide. Summer slide. Okay, would someone shout out? You can unmute your mic and tell me what's a summer slide. Kay or just Banal, Alicia, Claudia. Claudia, hi, how are you? You came back for me. I talked about it yesterday and here you are.
I can't stay away from you. You're so awesome.
Okay, so what's a summer slide then? Tell them. What is it?
Unfortunately, when students, you know, are not in the classroom or online, and some of their learnings decrease. For my English language learners, they'll forget some of the language that we learned.
Okay, thank you so much. That's great. So for those of you who haven't heard the term, now you have. So here we go. this is the summer slide, right? All the way down the hill. And then you have to go all the way back up again, right? Well, I believe that is not the way we want to look at it. I want to look at it a different way today. I want to tell you that it's the wrong metaphor for SLIFE. I don't see them as, and I understand that you all are looking at it that way, but I want you to look at it a very different way. Because working with them is not remediation, I see what we're doing as the summer pathway, the summer pathway. So we're moving them forward, okay? We're not preventing them from losing, we're guiding them on a new path, all right? So I'd like you to think positively about what you can contribute to their education. So we're calling it the pathway, okay? So it's a little bit of a shift in mindset, all right? So the first thing I'd like you to do is brainstorm with me how this group is different from other students. And so I'm going to give you a whiteboard, or you can use the chat. If you've never used a whiteboard in Zoom, just use the chat. If you've used the whiteboard before, you know what to do. You click on View Options and Annotate. View Options at the top of your screen, there's a little green bar, and it says you're viewing my screen. And then there's a place that says View Options. That's a menu. Click on Annotate. Annotate. You click on Annotate, and then you hit the T, and then you can type. So put, how are these students different from other L's? What makes them different? What makes them special? All right, and you can put it in the chat. Put it in the chat, okay? Or on the whiteboard. How are these students different? Go ahead. This is your first task. Let's go. We're going to have a lot. We're going to do a lot, so you got to move. This is participatory. Come on. Okay, interruption. Okay, let's go. Let's fill it. Maybe some of you are less familiar with this population, which is fine. Anybody want to fill the whiteboard? My students always use the whiteboard. There we go. There's somebody who did the whiteboard. Okay, we got the chat going now. Good. Okay. They might be caretakers. Yep. Okay, here we go. Great. All right. Let's get some of your prior knowledge up here. That's important, right? Always activate the prior knowledge. You know that. So those of you who don't have the prior knowledge, you're seeing your fellow students, you're learning participants. Sorry, I teach, so students. Your participants. All right. Take a look. Please read the board and read the chat. So if you didn't know, now you do. You're getting a lot of good information here from the other teachers who know. Okay. All right. All right. This is a good board we've got going here. And thank you for contributing to the board. And I'm going to save the board so we have it for later. And I'm now going to go back to the PowerPoint. So, somebody came in on the board just at the last minute. So what I'd like to do now is show you that I asked you on the pre-work, I asked you to answer the question. Let's see if it's going to let me. Oh, it makes me do the whole desktop, and I don't want to do that. Okay. So this was the pre-work. And you can see I said, what is your most pressing issue in teaching this population? Well, that's a little bit like getting at what's different about them. And so what many of you did was you talked to me about literacy issues, instructional gaps, getting them engaged was also mentioned, working with them on the teaching of writing, and lately getting them to be online learners, right? Okay, so again, you have the link. Those of you who didn't participate in that, that's okay. You can see the answers. If you go to the link, you can, actually, that's the link to your submitting it. I'll have to share afterwards the responses, okay? All right. And Grace, thank you very much for helping out. If people just are coming in now, please put what city you're in so that we have that, okay? So the pre-work responses on pressing issues. So we all know that these students are different. They're different in a lot of ways. So what I'm going to show you first is a way that I'd like you to position the work that you're going to do with them or what's going to happen to them over the summer. It's called the Intercultural Communication Framework. And those of you who've read my work or worked with me know that there's a lot more to this framework than I'm going to give you right now. So I'm going to do a very quick version of it. And the Intercultural Communication Framework, the first step is to establish and maintain ongoing two-way relationships. So the purpose here is to make it two-way. So you're not just the teacher, but you're someone that they know in their lives. And that has to happen in order for you to maintain something over the summer. Because if you're just the teacher, then that relationship needs bolstering in order for you to continue to be their anchor and someone who can check in with them all summer. So the more they know about you as a person, the more they know something about your life and who you are, the better. So it's got to be two-way. All right. So this basically usually talks about instruction. So in the summer too, anything you do, interpersonal elements, not just the curriculum. We're not talking about curriculum. Okay. Whatever your role is, you want to make sure that you're connected to them in a personal way. And if I were working with administrators or counselors or community liaisons, I would say the same thing. It's got to go beyond your job with this population because they don't see people as compartmentalized. You're either in their life or you're not. And if you're in their life, you've got to be a person in their lives. And if you're going to work with them, you have to accept that. And if you don't like that and you want to have a little line, get different L's. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of what you might do for the summer. Before they leave, I don't know I don't know all your schedules or anything, but these are some of the things you'd like to know about them. You probably already know age and grade, if they have siblings, what are their resources over the summer? What are their resources in their lives? What kind of support system do they have? Find out as much as you can about what they have. What are their plans? Do they have anything in mind that they're going to do? Do they have obligations, things that aren't necessarily what they want to do, but they're going to need to do? And what are their interests? You're going to need that too, okay? Because then you can take advantage of their interests to skew the suggestions you make in that direction. So I call it an inventory. It's kind of a summer inventory to get you ready to work with them. And you don't want to make this like an interview or a questionnaire. You want to kind of do it in a more, personal way. So it's not like, okay, I have this list. Tell me this, tell me that. But you know that. Don't talk to them that way, of course. But I call it an inventory, all right? So that's part of this relationship is going to work better if you have more information. So you know, so you don't end up having them say, oh, no, I can't do this, or I wouldn't do that, or, you know, those kinds of responses. Okay. The second is identify priorities in both cultures. So what you have to do is you have to learn, and it's not as easy as you think. What are your priorities? What are their priorities? How is that going to mesh? Well, I asked you a question in the pre-work. I asked you this question, summer should be. You remember that one? Those of you who did the work? So I said, summer should be. And I asked you to tell me what you thought summer should be. Now I'm going to go and get that answer in the pre-work. So it's here. All right, so I'm going to show you the answer. Share. Oh, was I not showing? I was not showing. Oh my goodness. I just realized that I was not showing the PowerPoint. Let me go back. That's the problem. I thought I was showing. That's one of these things about Zoom. New share. PowerPoint. New share. PowerPoint. It seems like I'm keep showing you the second screen, but okay, that's all right. Okay, so when I asked you about the summer, look at what you put. I asked you for yourself and I asked you for your students. Look at the list. What do you notice about this list? Put it in the chat. What do you notice about this list that you see here? What are you noticing when you look down this list? And on the left, it's for yourself, and on the right, it's for them. What do you notice about this list? This is not a trick question. This is just a plain old, what do you notice kind of question, okay? What do you notice between the left and the right? Right, the same things. Yes, Karen, woo! Okay, it's so similar. It's so similar. Your answers were similar. So what does that tell you? Okay, now I'm gonna try again, and I'm gonna go back to the PowerPoint this time. Okay, now, I just want to go back because I'm not sure that I shared with you the inventory. I just want to make sure you saw it. So the first step was this one. I want to make sure you saw the framework because I think perhaps you were not looking at it at the time. The intercultural framework, establish and maintain ongoing two-way relationship, take the inventory, that's the inventory. Those are the items on the inventory. Okay, and then the priorities, and now we're caught up to where we are. Okay, the third one, what you want to do. So by the way, about priorities, you can see that because you both have the similar priorities, that nobody put, the other thing is, nobody put cover the curriculum, summer should be to catch up on the curriculum, or summer, right? So remember that, all right? We're talking about summer here, all right? So make associations between familiar and unfamiliar. This is really important because they've got some schema theory going on here. They're learning new schemata all along during the school year and next year, and we want them to think about the summer as a time when they're dealing with some schemata that might be unfamiliar. So you have to help them bridge unfamiliar and familiar schemata. So I think summer is an important time to think about schema theory, because one of the issues we've had with this virus, which is the elephant in the room, elephant, hello, elephant. Okay, now we've said it. It's in the room, and we know that it has caused a tremendous stress to the teachers and the students because they're not used to necessarily working with technology and being online. So that's the other schema. So if you think of three schema, you've got language, you've got content, right? But the big one now is not language and content. The big one now is how do we even get in touch with each other? How do we even communicate? What's going on with technology? So that's got to be your focus. Your focus is not going to be how much English can they learn or how much content can they learn. Your focus is going to be how can we stay in touch with each other and what can they do to manage themselves technologically so that they're not completely isolated all summer. The main thing, number one, is that they're not isolated. Then we're going to bring in some language activities, which I will get to. Don't worry, we're getting there. I know we're TESOL people, but right now you've got to put that aside and you've got to focus on getting the communication. And I'm going to show you some different ways to do that. And my mantra, if anyone's worked with me, you know it's the mantra. So the mantra is create fertile spaces. Say the mantra. You don't have to turn on your mic, but say the mantra. That's so I get to drink some water. Okay. Why create fertile spaces? What I believe, okay, here we go. If you have a relationship with them, ongoing two-way, if you recognize their priorities and yours and you accommodate them, and you make associations between familiar and unfamiliar, those three things, those three principles will help you to create fertile spaces where learning can take place. All right? It's the foundation of everything you do. It's very important. Okay? It's a better focus than delivering instruction, meeting standards, covering curriculum. Whoop, what happened to me? Creating fertile spaces is what you want to do. All right, and in my other work, in my other webinars, I go in much more detail on that, and today we're going to focus on something else. Okay, now, remember when I asked you in a few minutes ago how this population is different from other Ls? Well, when we think about engaging them, if we're trying to lead them toward engagement, the first step is to figure out what's familiar, because that's the third principle, right, of the intercultural communication framework. You want to start with what's familiar and build bridges to the new, unfamiliar, which we know is the technology and the online, okay, that we're going to focus on. So what's familiar? Well, here's what I think is familiar, right? So one thing that's familiar are people, right? People, there are people in their lives. Photos, they may have seen pictures of things, all right? Home language is familiar, obviously. Talking, they talk different languages, translanguaging, but they're talking. Their talking is familiar. We can do something with that. Outdoors is familiar. The real world, the three-dimensional world is familiar. And I put social media there because they're kids. And from what I understand, if you're a kid, social media is familiar. You may not possess certain devices that will help you to get involved with it, but you're into it. You're into social media. It's familiar. In some way it is familiar, okay? So this looks like, well, who cares about this list? But this is our list. This is very important because this is what's familiar. And this is where we start. Notice what's not here. Notice that reading and writing is not there, okay? Mathematics, okay? All right, you see what I'm showing you? This is their world. This is their world, okay? Now, you could put more things down there, obviously, like food or something like that. But I'm not doing, topics so much. I'm just doing their world in general, all right? That's what's familiar. Okay, now it's time for me to give you another poll because you've been quiet for too long. I want to ask you a question. Oh, not a share, made a mistake. And I don't want to share right now. I want to do a poll. Okay, poll number 2. So please answer poll number 2. Some of you missed poll number 1. Don't worry. It was just asking you if you did the pre-work. All right, so please answer this question. How much experience do you have teaching SLIFE or SIFE? And tell us whether you're brand new, you've taught this group for a year or less, you've taught them for several years, or who are they? I need a dictionary. Okay. I'm gonna run out of water. All right. Oh, we have an interesting, did everybody answer? I hope everybody answered. Everybody should participate in these polls, please. It makes it much nicer if you participate. Come on, 3 of you haven't. 3 more people, 2 more people. Who's holding back? Somebody went and left the room. Okay, I'm gonna end it. Okay, it's okay, we got most people. All right, so I'm gonna share the results. And here we are. Number of you are brand new. Someone is totally new in that they don't know the group. You need a dictionary. And we have several people who've taught them not for very long, but we have 3 people here who've taught them for several years. So those are the people we can rely on. So if you could please, I'm gonna clear your responses. Could you put a green check, if you don't mind, the 3 of you that have some experience with this group, so people can look and see who you are, and then if they know you, they can rely on you. If they know who you are, they can rely on you. Okay, and thank you for being here. Those of you who have more experience with this group, if you want to contact me and we could do some work together, I'm always happy to collaborate. Okay, so now we'll continue. I just wanted to get the kind of the range of in the room. So some of you really are new to this. The other thing I wanted to stop and do for a minute is a little advertisement. Our sponsor, New York State TESOL. We are a webinar sponsored by NICE TESOL. If you missed the first slide that talked about this, this is for people who came in later. And those of you who aren't aware, you can get CTLE for this webinar. But in order to do that, you have to join NICE TESOL. And I'm going to put in the chat this link to join NICE TESOL. Please join our organization. I've been a member for more years than I care to admit to this group right now, but I've been a member for many decades. Okay, and this is the link to the wonderful resource page, which is open to anyone. All right, so that was our quick little advertisement. Somebody's waiting to get in to be admitted. Okay, now, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, boy, I'll tell you that you've got to have good small motor skills to do this. Okay, now we finally come to what you really came here for, but I had to give you the background, all right? So what we just did, Grace, okay, what we just did was background, getting you the mindset you need, getting you the framework you need, all of that, kind of getting you ready. Now we're going to look at what are some projects and activities that we can do in the context of what I've told you that are culturally responsive and sustaining for SLIFE. It's very important. And I should say that I'm about to start next week, and you're welcome to register for it through Eastern Suffolk BOCES. I'll be doing some training on culturally responsive and sustaining education. It's a series. There's a lot of work to do. It's a 14-hour course with BOCES, and you're welcome to register, but you do have to do the work. Okay, sorry. That was my little advertisement. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with NOTAC. All right, so these are some activities that you can do with NOTAC. All right, so what can they do? Well, let's take them one at a time. So the first one up here is collection. So a collection, you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot from a collection. Something they're interested in, they can collect. So for example, I like turtles. So pictures of turtles or anything to do with turtles. I have this, everyone knows I have this collection, okay? And then the thing about a collection is that it teaches you description, it teaches you classification, compare and contrast, academic ways of thinking, but it's all done with just objects or pictures of something that could be called a collection. You could have a collection of anything, collection of glasses, or, and you know, so we're not talking about a financial investment here. We're just talking about something you might have around, right? I have 2 pens here. What's different about them? What's the same? And there's a lot of different things we could talk about, right? So, and you can also have a class collection, but that's a project that we talk about that you would have in your classroom. That's different. So we're talking about students can collect. They can have a partner that likes the same thing and they can both collect. And you can have a lot of activities around collection of objects, okay? And if they are able to, that would be the next, when we get to technology, they could take pictures of their collection, and that would give you an idea of what the objects are so that you can frame different academic thinking activities, all right? Okay, a note box. Well, a note box is, they have like a Post-it, or if they have like just Post-it or a piece of paper, and they just make a little note in any language, in any way they can write anything, and just put it in the box. And they can, if they can learn to put the date and the, you know, like sandwich, anything, doesn't matter. Put whatever they want on the note and put it in the box. And then at the end of the summer, they can look at all the notes from the summer. They'll have a note box, and they can come to school in the fall and share the note box. Or again, with a little technology, they can make pictures of their notes, and then they can have a mural or a bulletin board, you know, of their notes, virtual bulletin board of all their notes for themselves, okay? Notes, all right? What do you learn from notes? Well, they learn, you know, different days they did different things. Maybe they can organize the notes. Oh, how many times did I make a note about food? How many times did I make a note? Okay, I got to move on. Walk and draw. Walk and draw is great because they can walk and then and walk around, and then they can come back home. Maybe they can draw where they walked. So they're making a map, but they don't even know it. So they're learning that kind of skill. And they can draw the places they went, the buildings they saw, and make drawings. Of course, I can't draw, so that would not be my choice, and we'll get to choice later on. But walk and draw. Okay, talking with friends. You might say, well, talking with friends. Yes, talking with friends, because they're using language. And remember, we know that in many families, the kids, it's not a lot of conversation going on necessarily, all right? There might be, but there might not be. And part of building your language repertoire is just using language. So talking with their friends is a great activity, and they can figure out what they want to talk to their friends about. What are the different topics they talk about? Maybe their friend is interested in something they're not, but they can listen to what their friend says, and they can talk with each other, okay? The other is listen and respond. If you can, there are different ways that they can find something to listen to another person. Maybe just listen to the people in their home. Maybe make them aware to listen and answer, and just practice the skill of listening in any language to anything, and just paying attention. Because a lot of kids, you know, they get lost in whatever they're doing, or games or whatever. We'll get to games in a minute, but listening is its own skill. So the more they listen, the better, okay? And if you think I'm echoing crashing, I am. Okay, now what's low tech? Let's move to low tech, okay? So low tech means, I had a little difficulty with this because I want to make sure it's not high tech, which of course is the next slide, duh, but I wanted to try to make sure it was low tech. So if some of these don't quite fit, just, you know, cut me some slack. I'm trying to figure this out myself. Okay, so here we got the low tech ones. So low tech. So let's see, just want to check my notes. Okay, so so what do I want to do first? Well, let's start over here on the left this time. Oral journal recordings. Okay, so this does involve technology, but they can record themselves talking. And again, any language, right? We support all languages, translanguaging, multilingual, because it's language, all right? It's not just about English. A lot will transfer. So, but they can use a mix of languages too. And if they want to practice their English, they can. And they can make an oral journal. So like once a week, they can just talk to record something, and hopefully you'll be at the other end to receive it, or someone will. And that's a journal. And again, the date is important. Everything they do, like remember the note box or the walk and draw, anything they do, we want to encourage them to put the date, to learn to regularly do the date, because it's such a value in our culture. We always want to know the date. So when they do a journal, the date, right? And then at the end of the summer, they'll have their different recordings. It also encourages them to do it on a routine basis if they know they're putting the date. You know, like once a week, then that's encouraged, okay? So oral journal. And what do I mean by journal? Same thing you mean by journal. Journal, you know, we all do journals. We're ESL teachers. Okay, teacher check-in. Teacher check-in would be great. It's a way for you to communicate with them. You could establish some way that you can check in with them. It would be low tech, but it would involve some technology. It could be texting, it could be a phone call, it could be a site where you're chatting on the site. You know, there are different ways that you could check in with them. But again, it would be on a regular basis, a routine basis. You check in, and the check-in is not in any way like, did you do this, did you do that? No, no, it's everything okay? How are you? I'm doing okay. And always talk about yourself. It's very important. So, hey, you know, I'm doing fine. I just took a walk around my block, and it's a beautiful day here. How are you doing? You know, it's a conversation. That's what I mean by check-in, okay? All right, the next thing is watch TV and cams. So TV, if they can, is always a good, you know, option if they can get to a TV. I remember when I was little, because this is how old I am, we didn't have a TV. I had to go to the neighbor. We didn't have that TV, so the people in the apartment above us had the TV, and we got so excited. Oh, can we go to their apartment and watch Howdy Doody on TV? I remember because we didn't have one, but they did. Okay. The other thing are cams. What's a cam? One of my students had an entire unit built around watching a panda cam. And they would, the class, this is the class, of course, but they can, if they can find some cams, maybe you can do the research on that, where they can watch a camera that's fixed on a certain animal or something like that. Okay, I just put that. I don't know a lot about it except from my student, but I know that there are ways you can watch cams. Okay. Then I want to talk about, let me do the photo album. I'm saving the two best for last. The photo album, again, it is, you know, taking pictures. They could take pictures and then they have the date because it's on there when they take it. And they can make a little virtual photo album with the pictures they have, and they can practice with, like, you know, what is it? Who is in the picture? What are they doing? You know, there's a lot you can do with that. It's like the photo essays that we do in class, except it's a little album they make. And it's mostly pictures or whatever writing they care to add to it. Okay. And again, at the end of the summer, they have this album of my summer. This was my summer. This is what I did. And they can talk about it or write about it or something like that. And again, the date on the photo is, you know, helps them to keep in their head. Oh yeah, I haven't taken a picture for a while. The dates are on there. Okay. We're working on dates. Okay. Now for virtual field trips, I want to share my screen to give you one option. Now, virtual field trips, this is discovery education. If they can get to a site where they can watch these field trips, they're virtual field trips. So they can't actually go on these field trips, but they can do virtual field trips. Some of them are even done live synchronously, so you can actually be there at a given time. That might be harder to arrange. But the virtual, this is only one site. There's so many sites, and you guys probably know what those sites are. So if anybody knows anything like that, please put it in the chat. If you know any other low-tech options, put them in the chat. Anything that you can add to my low-tech list, please add, okay? So these are virtual field trips from Discovery Education, okay? It's discoveryeducation.com, virtual field trips. Let me see if I can copy the link and put it in the chat. That's the Discovery link, okay? So I'm going to go back now to the PowerPoint. And I think, okay. The read alouds, I'm going to talk to you about read alouds. The read alouds. So read aloud books, there are some wonderful books that come with audio, or you can make your own. You know, you can make a read aloud book, or you can get some. ProLingua has them. I'm going to show you a little bit about that in a second. Okay. So, so that's another option, is they're listening and they have the book also in front of them. Okay. If they, you know, if you can arrange for that, that would be a wonderful thing that they could do. All right. So, so those are low tech. I'm going to come back to the books later because I want to talk, later. Okay. I want to talk to you a little bit about ProLingua and also Benchmark and Saddleback, which I think are the three that you're going to want to be using. Okay. So now these are the techie ones. So yes, here it is, Padlet. Okay, so the nice thing about Padlet is it's collaborative. So if they have the technology at home, they can be working together at the same time. It's like Jamboard is another one. So these apps where they can share are great, because if they do have the technology, they like doing things together. That's part of the collectivism in their culture. So any of those apps that allow them to be at the same place at the same time are great. Flipgrid is also very nice, very popular, easy to use, and the kids can make little Flipgrid videos. You can make suggestions of what they might want to put on their Flipgrids, and they can look at each other's and comment. There's a lot of people who swear by Flipgrid and how wonderful it is for all L's, but I think it's one of the technologies that might be more accessible if they're on the technology end of SLIFE, okay? Shared interactive reading. There are some apps. There's one I use with my students called TESOL. The book, you bring the book into the app, and then everybody can read the same copy together, and they can make comments on the side, like, wow, or I like that, or what does this mean, or something. They can type in little comments. Again, it's technology, but they type in little comments. You can put in questions and prompts. You highlight the text, and you talk to them about the text, and you say, what do you guys think of this? Or any ideas about what's going to happen next, if it's a story, or, you know, there's a lot you can do. It's shared interactive reading. Active textbook is one, although but it doesn't have to be a textbook. I've been importing whatever I want. I put anything in there. And shared interactive, and the other one is TESOL, P-E-R-U-S-A-L-L, TESOL. I'll put it in here. These are free. If you don't want to get too fancy, they're free. Okay. Live online meetups like we're doing now. Okay, it's not easy, but you can do it, right? There's meetups, and there's Skype and Zoom. All right, and you can find ways to meet up. That's a possibility. You can actually schedule meetups with those that can do that. That's another option. Another is you can make you can make lessons. You can make video lessons, and they can watch them and they can interact with them. If you want training on that, you know, that's something you'd have to be trained on. But making a video lesson where you ask questions and they respond, and you can even download the responses, all of that, if the technology is there on your end and on their end, is wonderful. You can actually be teaching them during the summer. So that's much more robust. Now we're getting to the strongest possible end of this, which is designing lessons for them, video lessons that you record yourself teaching them and they respond, okay? You could use Edpuzzle for that. Edpuzzle, or I use PlayPosit. I'm not doing websites, I'm just typing the things in there. Okay, so those are possibilities. And then I put in WhatsApp, and the reason I put in WhatsApp is that internationally, that's what people use. So if you're out of the United States, most of you who've been out of the United States know what you do is you use WhatsApp. That's what everybody uses. So if they're going to use something, they're probably familiar with WhatsApp. That's probably what they use. So it's something to consider. And there's a lot you can do with it. Right now in adult education, there's a huge conversation going on. And one of my former students, Nan Friedland, is leading that discussion about WhatsApp with SLIFE, who are adults, low literate adults. And she's finding that WhatsApp is the secret ingredient, the answer, because they help each other with it, they learn it, and they can do all kinds of things with it, audio, video, texting, whatever. They're doing all kinds of wonderful activities using WhatsApp. So those are my suggestions. And I'd like you to add to the chat anything that you can contribute in the way of suggestions. All right, this is, I was going to talk more about the field trips and adding enrichment. And the other thing I want to show you is audiobooks. So the audiobooks, I'm going to share now with you if I can, and I'm not, I hope that it will work. I'm going to do share computer sound, and I'm going to show you this page, and I'm going to play this. So what this is amazing. This is the book, The Magic Paper. These are books by ProLingua that come with the CDs, with the audio, and they read it. This is the read aloud, and they have like 12 of them. They're called The Hopes and Dreams. And what I want you to see is how the language is chunked. It's really important to see this. I hope you can see it. I'm going to make it a little bit, the text a little bigger, because I want you to see the text. And I hope you can hear this. I'm just going to play a minute of it.
Chapter 1, The Visa. Mexico City.
Do you hear it or not?
Chapter 1, The Visa. Mexico City, Mexico, 1980.
The line of people seemed a mile long. It seemed half of Mexico wanted a visa today. The line moved very slowly. Teresa Garcia had been here since early morning. Now it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She was hungry. Sometimes she sat on the ground to rest her feet. Then someone poked her. She turned around. "Need a visa?" a young man asked.
Okay, we're going to stop with need a visa. I want you to have some suspense here. Okay, so so my point about that is it's a wonderful series, and I have them all. I couldn't resist. But the important thing is, did you notice how it was chunked linguistically? So it doesn't go, it's not for readers because it doesn't go the whole line. And it looks like a poem, but it's not. It's chunked by, like a prepositional phrase would never be broken up. It's perfect the way it's organized linguistically. That's what I appreciate about it. I've never seen anything done that way. And for SLIFE, I think it's so important because they learn the chunks of language. You know how they read word for word when they read, blah, 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 right? Not to, but I'm just saying that's the way early readers sometimes do, and we have to teach them to chunk. Well, this is chunked for them. Beautiful. And they're all stories they can relate to, okay? Whatever nationality, they're different ones, different stories of immigrants and refugee groups coming. And it's just a beautiful series, and they don't cost a lot. I don't get any commission or anything, but pro lingua, just saying, okay? So I think that's an option for reading aloud, okay? And I'm glad really glad that you were able to hear it, okay? Now, the other thing, this is my idea, is Benchmark has some different books that are really good for learning academic type of skills. You know, their Rigor, R-I-G-O-R, you probably know of, which is their main series for older emergent readers. But what I really like is the little books they have, and the one they have here is this one. It's how to write a book review, and they use 3 little pigs and Riding Hood, you know, anyway, but they teach book reviews. How do you write a book review? And my idea is that if you do have your students read anything over the summer, if they are interested in actually reading something, the incentive is to do a book review, because then they can share what they liked about the book, what they didn't. It's more of an incentive to read if they know they're doing reviews for each other. And they can say, oh, you should read this one. Well, why? And who wrote it? And what's the name of it? Okay, they're already getting to do a book review. So again, if you can see, I don't know if you can see the features of a book review. So they learn the features. You can work with them on what is a book review, a summary of the book, the characters, plot, and ideas. Did you like the book or not? What was good about it? What you didn't like? And you know, what is the information, essential information? So it really gives them a lot of academic thinking skills, but it also is a motivator, and it could be any book, okay? So that's really a suggestion, I think, is to have them do book reviews. And on the right, you can see all the skills they're learning through book reviews, writing book reviews. That's a list of the skills. And again, I get no commission, but this is Benchmark. This is Benchmark Press. So that's the other one, okay? Yeah, the author of you don't really need the author of those other books, but it's Tanya Reif wrote all the stories, okay? So that's book reviews. We have to move along now. So those are all the specific suggestions. Now I want to give you some reminders and guidelines, but I gotta have a little more water. Okay, all right, we went deep in the little nitty gritty. Now we're going to step back. All right, first, you might not like this, but the fact is they're not so used to school, so they do not miss it. It's not the same as other students who are like, oh, we were in school, now we're not. I mean, they weren't in school for a lot of their lives. Their life is, their default is not school. So that's one thing. Just keep it in your mind, okay? their real world connections are more important than their online connections. You know, they're in the real world, the three-dimensional world, not the two-dimensional world. Right now, I can't reach out and touch you. Hello, hello. No. But, you know, that's why it's really important if you can do what we're doing now. Okay. Translanguaging is very important. It's extremely important that they feel comfortable, that there's not about English, 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 English. Every language is a language, and whatever they can grab and use for what's important to them and meaningful to them will help them in general with language development. I'm not doing research in that area. It's not my area, but I really respect and admire the people that are putting forth all the information that we need to know about translanguaging, because I think particularly for SLIFE, it's important. The other thing to remember are the routines. You remember all along I was talking to you about the fact that you want to have them do this once a week or blah, blah. The more you can establish, try to establish like a routine, it would be great. If they can get into a routine, then that will really help them. And anything you can do to facilitate, like the check-ins, would be a way to help with routines. And remember, it's only what they want to do. All right. Theoretical stuff, the more comprehensible input they get, the better. The more non-linguistic supports they have, the better. The more relevant the topics are, the better. And the more the interaction, the better. That's just a little theory stuff that we could talk about for hours, but there it is. Okay. I want to give you a couple more ideas about making it equitable. I have an activity called the Helping Hand, if you can arrange to do it, which is if you have somebody who's no tech, someone's low tech, someone's high tech, let the higher tech people help the lower tech and teach that they can do a little peer, you know, oh, let me show you Flipgrid, you know, they can help each other. They can help each other. So the helping hand works like this. You say, I need help with this. I can help with this. So whatever they can help with, they do. Whatever they need help with, someone sees that. And it's a helping, and it fits right in with their collectivistic background. And they're always going to be able to help with something, even if it's not technology. Maybe they can help with something else. The walking around the neighborhood. I know I get lost or walking around the building. I can't find my way. I always say, they say, just retrace your steps. And well, I won't go into that. We have to leave. Okay. The other thing is make it fun. We started out by looking at what you put on your form, and you all said that summer should be fun, invigorating, blah, blah, blah. So games, anything you can do to make it fun. There are a lot of games out there, you know, technology-wise, there are games, you know, like Kahoot. There's so many different things you can do. This is just a sample of a Jeopardy, but you could, you know, I'm not going to spend a lot of time because we don't have it. The other thing is encourage participation by everybody. You know, people say it's, you know, oh, the students working or the students on the computer. No, everybody, whoever, whatever. You know, there might be, let's say, one computer for an entire family, or not even, but I mean, if they do have one, it'll be for everybody. So why not? You know, it's not just about your student, it's about everybody. The baby, the cat, the dog, the kid, siblings, okay? And, you know, it should be inclusive. Anything you do is inclusive. You want the more involvement of other people, because that is interaction, that's listening, speaking, it's all kinds of things you want. I have 2 cardinal rules for you on the way out the door. One is make no assumptions. What resonates with one group of students may not with another. Stay tuned at all times and always offer options. So when I gave you those slides with the no tech, low tech, high tech, you have to give options to them. What would resonate with each student? So that's why if you have the inventory at the beginning, that will help you to figure out which students might get excited about one thing or another. So you're not going to be like, oh, everybody's going to do the walk and draw this week. No, 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 no. Please don't interpret me that way. Okay. Everything is on the menu. Think of a menu with all different dishes, and everybody's going to eat a different dinner. Okay. Like when we used to do that. Don't start me. Okay. Second cardinal rule, be there always. Always. To remain empowered, they need to know you're there to catch them, mentor them, and love them. That is really the most important thing. If you're there, If you're there, it doesn't mean physically, obviously, but they know in their head you're there 24/7. If they need you, you need to be there for them. That's really important. If you're supporting, the title of this was not my title. I was told you wanted something like this. It's supporting them. Okay, we're going to have to leave. But my last thing was, if you had any more ideas, share them with us. So if you have any more ideas, go to the pre-work link and add your ideas. Because what we have in the pre-work, I don't have time, but what we have in the pre-work is a list of all your ideas. And I know who registered. So once I get everybody's ideas, I will send you, ignore my phone, I will send you a list of all of everybody's ideas. So that's crowdsourcing the ideas. And the last poll is, will you please do a reflection on the webinar? So I would like you to do a reflection. And here is the link to the reflection. Please, I'm sorry. Somebody asked me a question and then I don't have the right thing on the, okay, that's the link. Everybody copy that link. Please go and do the reflection. I was going to ask you in the last poll whether if you would please do the reflection, but I'm not going to ask you that. I'm just going to tell you to do it. Please do the reflection. It helps me so much if you do the reflection. It's very important. Let's not just have 3 people do it, please. Okay? Do the reflection. And that's it. Nice TESOL, join Nice TESOL. Oh, I suppose I'll just put my email here. If you want to contact me for anything, I'm available. I'm not going anywhere, that's for sure. Okay, staycation for me. That's the end of my slideshow, so I guess I should stop sharing and say goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming. Hope you learned a lot. Take care. Bye. Have a great summer. If you want to be in touch with me, I'm easy to find.
Bye, Helene. This is Pam Burkins. Do you remember me? I don't know if you can.
Yeah, I remember you, Pam. Let me stop the recording. Hang on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. We don't need to record this.